Is he playing Fenrir? Rai Leuhan? Oh, that's a thing. 33k. On attack, Superior Stride Marduk. What the hell? You keep the cards in hand. Oh, it does work like that. Persona Ride. Sure. Skill activate since Persona Road. Give your Vanguard additional drive check. Attack. This is 53. Triple drive. Leuhan Genesis Premium. What? Check out Dueling Guard's deck boxes, playmats, and binders. They're great quality products that are anime based. They continually have more anime options becoming available. Use the affiliated link in the description for a 5% discount on your next purchase. So this is more of a fun casual deck that I just built, and really I'm having a lot of fun with it. Leuhan does a rewrite skill, and I figured that if I did it in some type of premium clan that could take advantage of it, that would be really fun to do. So I want to give a quick shout out to Godsman because this gave me the idea to like light bulb with Genesis. And originally I thought of like Shadow Paladin, but I think Genesis is a really good spot where this can shine as well. So essentially the goal of this is that when Leuhan does the rewrite skill, you go into the other grade 3, and when that one attacks, you're able to do Marduk. And the main difference between that is that you actually get to keep the triggers that you drive check with Marduk. Also, it's a little bit bigger too, so it's a little more threatening. Plus, it also increases the generation break cards moving forward too, so that way you can use cards like Ultima if you really want to play those cards as well. Not to mention using Force 1 to really make your Vanguard bigger. Again, over time, Vanguard attacks do scale, so you need to like properly scale up. Otherwise, 13 and then 23 ain't gonna cut it moving forward. And Marduk's 28k by himself as well. So get into the card choices. I'm gonna break this up into like engines or packages, however you wanna pronounce it, or term it, I should say. I'm going to use the term package. So this is the Leuhan package, and you want to play 4 copies. During your main phase and act, you can Soul Blast to actually search the Horus Maris, call it to rearguard from your deck. This is super helpful because the second skill does require soul charging it from rearguard circle, and then also rewriting the other grade 3 from either deck or hand. We play 4 copies too because we want consistency, but also Persona Ride is a thing too, so you can take advantage of that. And it's cool in Genesis because it adds to the soul, which can fuel for Marduk. So when you do a Persona Ride, you add 1 to the soul and you draw a card, potentially getting a better combo piece for that turn as well. You can also see the Persona Ride benefit as temporary Force 1 markers across the front row too. For the other grade 3 that you actually write into, you want to play 3 copies at least, so that way you have enough copies. This also gets 10k if you have the other Leuhan in soul. So it can go as 13 to 23. But if you have Force 1 markers, then those can scale up. And then if you do Marduk, at that point, it's a different power level at that point. During a Persona Ride turn, things can change because you can have the Maris. It has an effect that it also goes into Soul by Vanguard with Leuhan, where if you did Persona Ride, you actually choose one of your Vanguards and give it plus drive. So then your grade 3 will also do triple drive, so it could be an option if you don't have the resources to go into Marduk. That's an alternate option. The Maris is useful too as a beater, so just in case you don't have another like initial attack, I typically like to do rearguard, Vanguard, Vanguard, and then stack all those triggers onto the last rearguard that can attack as well. This is typically a 4 attack deck moving forward with a focus on restanding Vanguard and potentially maximizing from those benefits. 3 copies of Benediction. She's really useful because you need to recycle pieces. Initially, you need to get them out of deck, but once you're moving forward, you're going to start wanting to recycle Maris and the Leuhan pieces. And this is a great booster for that first Vanguard attack too. She's also 13k as a booster in that regard. So the Leuhan column can be at least 26k, and then will scale up moving forward as well with force markers. You could also optionally counterblast after you recycle a card to the bottom of the deck to draw a card in case you do need to keep up with some advantage too. I only play 3 copies because it also is a 5k shield, and she doesn't really serve a purpose outside of that, so she can only do so much. So now into the Force Generation package, we're playing 2 copies of Uranus. So this is on play Soul Blast 2, generate a force marker onto your Vanguard circle. That's all that we care for. You could actually take multiple uses of this card, and that's why it's important to generate Soul as well for not only Marduk, but also this card. And the other grade 3 that we're playing is an older grade 3, Neptunus essentially. And the difference between him and Uranus is because he needs to be unboosted and you discard a card and you generate a force marker. So it helps as a different option. Instead of using the soul to generate markers, you can discard any card from your hand and actually just generate a marker that way. I typically like to discard the Ticket Shield, the weakest one, if I'm going second. And then you got a card like Forbidal to search for both of them too. So that way, that turn, that you do, you could potentially get 2 force markers that way easily. You could also revive some of these if they've been reused, or you can call over with the Maris to make sure there are options in the drop zone and then reuse them the same turn to generate another marker, assuming that you have enough resources to do so. So you're seeing restanding, you're seeing force marker generation. Now the question is like, we need soul. This is where we start using cards like Ulysses, and you want 4 copies. Ulysses is a generic soul charger in the sense that it goes into soul and draws you a card, but that also allows you to have some early game. If you don't deal enough damage in the early game, then your opponent's just going to take the double Vanguard attack if they're at like 0-1 damage. It's not that scary at that point, so it helps with that. But also keep up with other aggressive decks too, so you're not too high of a damage too early on, and then you just lose right away. This pairs up well with Apple Witch Cider 2, which is another soul charging card. So at the end of the turn that it boosts it, you can either soul charge 1 and bounce this card, or you can soul charge 2. So this gives you flexibility in how much you want to soul charge, and it's a great card if you see it early to boost your Vanguard. And when you know that you're going to use Benediction for the following turn, that's when you can soul charge 1 and bounce it back. It also has reusable shield fodder, essentially, because it is a 10k. But also on Guardian Circle, you can soul charge a card to get 5k for every 3 cards in soul. So that can get a little bit bigger, but also add cards to the soul from that skill too. So it's just very synergetic. Not only that, you can make a column of Ulysses and Apple Witch Cider, and at the end of the battle, they essentially disappear and draw you advantage while soul charging as well. So really phenomenal cards when it comes to synergy. The rest of the main deck focuses on consistency and pretty much like putting the deck together in a way. I am trying out the new V promo, Ramones, and this actually just came out in English this month too. So if you are still waiting on your copies or you're going to locals, pick them up, especially if you're a Genesis player. So essentially I use this mainly for consistency. So you discard, check the top 5 for a grade 2 or less. You can search for those other cards to help soul charging, or add other cards to help with consistency, just such as Skull as well. But with Ramones, you want to make sure that you can also use your other grade 2 Ulysses on Rigor, so this can be a right target as well. You could also technically use the unboosted skill to potentially bottom deck a crits to give crit onto your Vanguard, but it is once. What I mean by that is that essentially since you reread a new Vanguard, that crit is not passed down to the new one. So it's a one-time use, which can be fine and worth it depending on how much counter blast you do have. You could also do a draw trigger in case you need to draw a card, essentially, to keep up with advantage. But essentially, you could also search for a Skull, so that way, when you place this, you could check the top 5 for a grade 3, add to your hand. This could add your Leuhans, this can add your Forbidals, or your other force marker generation cards. Very useful cards, so that's why I'm playing 3, just to help with the consistency. It also becomes a 13k attacker or a booster. Super nifty, especially for Neptunus. That's pretty much the perfect booster at that point to make that column a little more scarier, too. And then the last card is 1 copy of Sectitude, just to be able to 1 card, and also it's a blitz order too, just to get around guard restrictions and other crazy matchups. So now for the rest of the grade 0s and triggers, you can play any starter. Make sure that you play like a V starter so you can get the tickets essentially and draw into a card. For the crits, I am playing 4 the Strike Fighter crits still, just in case, because a lot of the other rear guards you want to either re-ride, call them to rear guard, or ride them from deck, right? So this, if you do need to go into your stride turns, you can have this fallback as fodder. The other crits that I like to use is the ones that go generically into Soul and also draw you a card, but also give your Vanguard 10k. So this can come up on the Leuhan weaker attacks too, or even your Marduks, just to make that a little bit scarier. I thought about like the Fenrir cure, but you cannot go into Soul because none of your Vanguards will be Fenrir. You can use the defensive skill where you can draw a card if you want to value that more. You're more than welcome to try that out, or maybe just mix them up as well. 3 PG draws, and the OT, this one will be blue. So with the draw PGs, you need PGs and also some draw power. For consistency reasons, you need combo pieces with this deck to an extent, or cards just to be able to soul charge and do your thing. Where Leuhan is a little bit flexible, he can search for the Maris technically, and he rewrites from deck anyway. It's really much everything else with the consistency reasons. But also on the OT, you can use either the blue or the red. I've been trying both, going back and forth. The benefit of the red OT, you can get an extra attack because, again, it is a 4-attack deck. The blue OT, you have the benefit of having more crit, making those Vanguard attacks much more scarier, but also adds a card from drop, which can be your Persona Rides for next following turn and other combo pieces that you really would rather have in the hand at that point. Lastly, grade 3 heals. Again, 2 strides, survive the early game, and that's pretty much it. I don't necessarily have a full out G zone for it. Definitely play 2 Marduks, if not 3, so that way you're able to keep doing that at ease at that point. 1 Jagnagna. So this card is actually a game finisher in its way, so that could be helpful at least. And also you can help like take advantage of the soul that you're generating but have not gotten into really the whole Marduk play too, so that can help. Amaruta, definitely at least 2 copies because you could still do some generic stride plays with that in case you need to draw or maybe just like be able to have that Soul Blast 15 skill. Some generic counter chargers such as Muspel, and also of course the Messiah, so you can get the ticket shields. G-Guardian wise, you can definitely play Anavarata. This is super nice, deals with a lot of problems, also gives you soul. Laura to return your copies, like the Leuhan copies, the Maris, and so on, whatever you need. And then of course the other soul charging type of G-Guards, again, to build up that soul as well. You could also play Dismal to protect like Neptunus or other cards that you would rather keep on the field to reuse as well, in case they try to attack it during the battle phase too. So that's another option. Soul Blast 1, Call Maris, Orbidol, Neptunus, and Uranus. Scale on place. Soul Blast 2, Force Marker. First attack, boost it, Neptunus, scale. Discard a card, generate another marker. Leuhan attacks, 33k. At the end of the battle, Counter Blast 1, Soul Charge this, ride this one. On attack, Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 6, Superior Stride Marduk, 48, triple. You keep the cards in hand, and attack. End the turn, rewrite Leuhan. Persona Ride, draw a card, skill again, call Maris, Neptunus again, discard a card, next Force Marker. This is also plus 10 because of Persona Ride. 53, skill, rewrite from deck. Skill activate since Persona Road. Give your Vanguard additional drive check. Attack, triple drive. It does go to the bottom of the deck. This is 53, and then attack. And so that's the deck profile. I hope you really enjoyed this. I have been having fun with this. Again, it's not like the best deck in the metagame or anything. This is just more of a casual deck with some overdress goodness into it. And I'm looking forward to like future stuff that can actually make these types of fun decks actually a little bit better too, or just make some cool, fun interactions moving forward, even more so with different clans too as well. If you want to support the channel, use the affiliation links with TCG Player, Trading Cardman, 50 Card Shop, Card Trader Zero. I offer one-on-one coaching as well, so if you want to help improve your game or practice for the next big event, happy to help out where I can. Check out the testimonies on my page. And also check out Dueling Guard's anime products to increase your anime swag. On to the next one, amigos. Bye!